Hello Internet, I am the hero of Julios, once again with another episode of the Saltmarsh vlog. The last time a player character died, I learned that it hits you really hard and fast and you're not quite ready for it because what DM plans for the players to die? That seems a little counterintuitive to the storytelling aspect of D&D. But what I have learned from the second player death is that the longer the player character has been around, the more the death affects the party. Now, I know this sounds pretty obvious when you say it out loud. The longer you've known someone, the more their death affects you. This goes for fictional characters as well, but there are times where in certain animes and stuff, the most famous death in the anime is for a character who had maybe a few episodes of screen time, and yet somehow the whole community treats that like the worst death in the history of forever. It's interesting. But in this case, Dryak's passing has sparked new anger inside my players, and a vow to defeat and definitely kill Granny Nightshade, who, I mean, if you've been watching all these videos, you know Granny Nightshade was originally going to be my big bad, but now she's kind of like a co-big bad with Calcifer, because now there's blood in the game. I was honestly just planning on hag stuff to be a, when the party just like needs a side quest, maybe go fight a hag or two, but now it's personal, and it expands to the whole party at this point. To kind of maybe stir the pot of anger a little, I decided to have Granny Nightshade take advantage of this death that happened in her domain. So as Dryax passed away, Ivani, the rogue with the pet bird, told her pet raven, Matthew, to go to the Raven Queen and basically ask if she could do something, if she could bring Dryax's soul back or revive him or just anything to help. I kind of ruled it as a divine intervention, so I had her roll a D100 at the end of the last session, and unfortunately, she only rolled like a 63, so I wasn't going to just bring back Dryax's soul, but having thought about it, I decided his soul wasn't brought back by the Raven Queen for a different reason. You see, you can't bring back a soul that hasn't moved on. So when Matthew returned, he had a few tail feathers missing, his wings were kind of crooked, and he looked disheveled as far as a bird goes, and when he gave her visions of what he saw, he was ushering Dryax's soul, he was helping it move along, when suddenly an old withered hand smacked it out of the sky, knocking it to the ground. Now Ivani is mad because someone messed with her bird. As for Beric, the fighter, and Felix, the other monk, the two of them had gotten along really well with Beric, and I wanted to give them some stake in this as well, especially since Felix and Dryax, they really hit it off, monk to monk, and the two of them had become fast friends, even if it was over the course of a single session. Unfortunately, the two of them were not able to save him, but Granny Nightshade decided these two might be willing to do some deals. So she met them both in a dream, because night hags can cause nightmares inside of people, so I figure it's not too much of a stress to make them also able to enter dreams. Granny Nightshade shows them a vision of Dryax's soul leaving his body and floating down the hallway as a little raven comes and picks up the soul to take it away. Only for a little bit later, the soul to be back inside of a lantern. And in this lantern, Granny Nightshade tells them, if the two of you do me some favors, if you work for me outside of game, I told them this is the opportunity to be warlocks despite their charisma not being the correct level. She tells them, I will release his soul if basically you give yours to me. And the two of them said no deal, and she said, fine, come take it the long way, as she leaves their presence. But all of that teasing and nuance and the gut wrenching loss of a friend is nothing compared to what the player of Dryax decided to keep on his person. Dryax apparently had a will. So I'm going to read that now. And to Dryax's player, thank you for writing this. It's now on the internet forever. To whoever is reading this, hail and well met. I'm dead. If you bested me in combat, congratulations on defeating a worthy foe. I'm sure our battle was legendary. If the group formerly known as the Mostly Magical Beans is discovering my body, I hope that I died protecting you all. Please utilize my small fortune to take care of the ship and the crew. Please break the news to the crew and our friends in Saltmarsh gently. Please donate 10% of my wealth to my monastery in the Sword Coast Mountains, and send them any books or knowledge I have gained in my travels. To Barrick, I leave all my magical items on my possession, except for the Displacer Beast cloak. That is to go to my new monk brother Felix. I will away my share of ownership of Bean's ghost to you, Barrick. Distribute the rest of my magical belongings and gold as you see fit. Please donate my mundane items and weapons to the town guard of Saltmarsh. For my brewing supplies, recipes, and wooden figures, please send them to my friend Triss at my temple. Bury me with Bean. If my friends are reading this, I am sorry that I have failed you in battle. Our tales and adventures were legendary and of the utmost regard. I have cherished our trials, joys, and tribulations with you all. Hail and farewell, my friends. Hail and well met was kind of Dryax's catchphrase. That's how he greeted everyone he met. Players, if you want to, if you have a DM that loves roleplay, be sure to do things like that. Do things that tug at our heartstrings too, because that was really sweet. That was really enjoyable. I gave his new character inspiration. And speaking of his new character, we got to meet Zorp! I believe they're called plasmoids. It's a plasmoid paladin who has been stuck in a jar for the last 9 years inside the hoard of the vampire's treasures. Speaking of the vampire's treasures, our druid has started to learn that actions have consequences. Because at the start of the session I said, hey, is there anything anyone wants to do? And the druid goes, I know what I don't want to, I know what I want to do, but I know what I won't do. And I said, go on. And he said, I want to loot the monk's body and take all his magical stuff. But I know everyone will kill me. So instead, I'd like to look around the cave and see if I can find treasures elsewhere. And I was like, yes! And everybody else was like, yes, we would have killed you. And I said, yes, that's true. Go ahead. You may make a perception check. You can start looking for treasures. While he was looking for treasures, the wizard was also looking for treasures. The rest of the party was either over Dryax's body or in the hallway mourning his loss or in the hallway looking out for enemies that might be coming. Because of this, the wizard and the druid were the only ones that found the treasure chamber first, and by the time the rest of the party got there, the druid was already halfway through stuffing his entire bag with stuff, just random trinkets, items, and a crown that I described in great detail. Naturally, the crown was cursed. But hey, when you're grabby and you don't really care what happens to you, that's how curses work. So he grabbed the crown, put it on his head, and this is a homebrew item of my own design. Feel free to steal it if you want to. It's actually pretty cool. It is a crown of sorrow. Or maybe a crown of love. I haven't really decided what to name it yet. But what the crown does is all of your healing spells heal an additional die. So if your healing spells roll a d8, you roll a second d8. If they roll a d4, you roll another d4. This does not increase with level. So if you cast Cure Wounds at level 2, you're not now rolling 4 d8s, you're rolling 3. So it's just one additional die to whatever healing spell you're doing that rolls dice. But any healing you do damages you now. Because the love you give is the price you pay. As a result, the druid now has a hard time healing people, and can't heal himself, because any damage he heals immediately gets damaged right after. If he takes the crown off, he is unable to cast healing spells at all. But he is able to take the crown off. The curse can be broken by a simple remove curse spell or anything like that, but remove curse is kind of expensive, and right now, their new paladin friend, A, doesn't know that the crown is cursed, and B, isn't really good at communicating right now. Being stuck in a jar for 9 years, he's kind of lost the ability to talk. As a result, his player is just role-playing him as kind of just saying Zorp, Zorp, and an occasional word as he's relearning how to speak. Of course, among Valentine's things, they do eventually find the harp. And they do take the harp all the way back to Saltmarsh with them. They end up fighting some undead along the way, because obviously I'm not going to let them leave the Dreadwood without a couple more fights. With that, the party returns back to Saltmarsh. They turn in their magic harp to Zendros. They get their orders in for all the different magic items they want. They pay for new magic items they want, and these magic items will be here anywhere between a week and 4 weeks, depends on a die roll. Because of this, I decided I was going to give the players a time skip. They have 2 weeks to just whatever they want to do around Saltmarsh while they're waiting for their magic items to come in, things like that. And Barrick, the fighter, is going to do something I did not see coming. He is going to charter his own boat, and he is going to sail where that dragon was. Yeah, the dragon that said leave, never come back, don't tell people about this place. That was just like a throwaway dragon thing that happened long time ago. And he didn't forget it, because he's looking to get a new feat from a dragon. So that's going to be cool. We're going to get to roleplay that in our next session, so I'm looking forward to that. Oh man, a lot happened this time. What else am I thinking of? Ah, yes, that's right. The compass. Because they killed Silco. The orc has access to Silco's spellbook, so the orc wizard cleric is going to gain a bunch of new spells. Not to mention the bag of holding that he had, tons of platinum in his bag, mind you, and of course, a tome. This tome will increase the constitution. I think that's the one I gave them. It'll increase a constitution score by 2, so someone's getting a whole bunch of HP all of a sudden. I believe they decided it's going to go to Ivani, the sister of the Rogue Twins. But the Rogue Twins are both elves, so while not in this campaign, in character, they have quite a few uses out of that book before they actually pass away. I don't think I forgot anything important, but I do want to mention one last thing. The sending stone that Evander pulled out of Silco's bag has given him a message. It was a message from the pirate captain Calcifer, telling him, Silco, I want to know what our status update is. I told you once per day. He responded with, I'm going to paraphrase because I don't remember his exact word for word, but he basically said, Silco's dead and you're next. Later on in the night, he's like, hey, wait, can I change what I said to Calcifer? Because, I think I have something cooler. And everyone was like, no, you can't change it now just because you came up with something cool. No, what you said on the spot is what you said on the spot. And apparently what he wanted to say after he had thought about it was, it's nice to finally hear your voice. Personally, I think the other one was cooler. I think the first thing he said was cooler, but that's just me as the DM. If he thinks what he said was cooler, if the rest of the party hadn't said, no, what you said is what you said, I might have let him take it back, but I think his first line was cooler. What the party doesn't know is that Silco may have been the ship's wizard, but that doesn't mean Calcifer no longer has access to magic. Magic such as scrying. A spell that allows you to see the general area around a person, place, or thing that you are familiar with. like a sending stone. So Calcifer knows what they look like, and Calcifer knows where and when they are. I'm going to be doing a canonical adventure this time. I'm going to do, I think I want to do the one with the abandoned island, with the lighthouse, and there's like a big spectral minotaur, which is pretty cool. So that's going to be that adventure. But when they return to Saltmarsh, after that escapade, someone might be waiting for them. Not exactly sure who, but someone. Plus, there's also Dryax's letters that he sent to the monastery, so I'm debating if I want to make that a huge plot point or just something to tug at a heartstring right now, because they'll either get a letter back from his friends at the monastery, his love interest at the monastery, who says, just nice things about him, and, I can't wait to hear more about your adventures, and, I'll keep sending you letters for every letter you send me, and that's going to be heartbreaking. Or his friend Triss might just come to visit. Saltmarsh sounded so nice. Maybe she'd like to come and see what it looks like. That might be too cruel, though. I might not do that. Either way, we'll see in the next few sessions what happens here and there, and hopefully no more character deaths, because I'm starting to worry that I might become a killer DM if I let this happen too often. But that's for the next session, as they say. So we'll see what stories the dice tell in our next session of D&D. Thank you for watching as always, and I will see you in the next video. This is the Hero of Julios, Xing out.